Greetings my friends and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I've got another unanticipated, unplanned instalment of my favourite EPs. If you've been following this unexpected series, you'll be aware of the fact that I originally set out to choose a handful of my favourite EPs because I think that EPs are quite often overlooked. Sometimes they can contain some of a band's best material and they're forgotten about, those crucial tracks, because they're not on the main full-length releases. So it went from being one episode, I just wanted to tie up some loose ends, talk about a few EPs, a few tracks by a few bands that I really appreciated. It then spilled over to 2 episodes because I couldn't believe some of the things that I'd forgotten and neglected from that first episode, and the same has happened again. I went back and looking through the collection and I'm thinking, how did I not talk about that EP? What on earth was I thinking? So, here to make amends with part 3 of my favourite EPs. So, we're going to kick off with a little release. 4-track release originally, now heavily embellished with a lot of live material. EP from 1983, I believe, from a little known band, Queensryche. Now this is the Queen of the Reich EP, although here it's called Queensryche, you hear it called different things. The first track is Queen of the Reich, so I wonder if that is why it has been termed the Queen of the Reich EP. But with the 4 tracks that we get here on the normal original EP, the first recording release that we get from Queensryche, who went on to become kings of progressive heavy metal, we've got Queen of the Reich, the title, or first track. We've got Night Rider, we've got Blinded, and we've got The Lady Wore Black. Now, The Lady Wore Black is easily in my top 3 Queensryche songs of all time. It is a superb track. The power in Jeff Tate's vocals is unbelievable. He sounds like he's nearing those heights of Bruce Dickinson. He's got all the power. He's got the heavy metal vocal style. Musically, these are some absolutely ripping traditional heavy metal tracks. But there is a progressive element in there. You can see, you can get a hint, a taste of where they were going to go from here. But this 4-track EP, the original, will exclude the live tracks. On this version, you get some bonus live tracks recorded in Tokyo, Japan, 84. Originally released on Live in Tokyo video. So you get a full concert there from circa this era and around the time of The Warning, of course, a year later. Some good stuff. But these tracks, these 4 tracks here, are some of the best material from Queensryche. It's absolutely killer. If you're not familiar with Queensryche, then this is a suitable place to start. The Queensryche or Queen of the Reich EP is an absolute blinder. The musicianship is incredible. The guys are absolutely red hot. They are on it. And this is, like I say, some of my favourite material. Queensryche EP, 1983, not one to be missed, which I somehow did twice. So, keeping with the absolutely ripping metal theme, I can't believe that I neglected one of my favourite live releases ever. Live in Eindhoven by the mighty Thrashers Testament. This is Live in Eindhoven. This was recorded live June 8th, 1987, Dynamo Open Air Festival, Eindhoven, Holland. So, I've talked about this one recently as I recently acquired it for one of my heavy relics, one of those shows. It's a lovely little live release. Such a nice piece to have. This thing is in absolutely great condition, so I was so chuffed to find it. But there's a difference between how I hear it here, analog, where we have just the 5 tracks, 5 classic thrashing numbers, and the more modern, or more recent years CD issue of the album, where we suddenly have a few more tracks dotted on there. This is the cover of the later CD release, and that is the track list. A few more numbers you may notice. The main difference being we get tracks such as Disciples of the Watch added on there. We've got The Haunting. We do have Apocalyptic City. You know, we've got a few extra songs here. We've got Curse of the Legions of Death as well on the CD. But this, as it's in its EP form alone, even this is not a particularly long album. This is more of a mini live album. It's so full of energy. It's thrashing, it's ripping, it's heavy, it's got absolutely everything that we need from a raw, energetic, live thrash performance. And it actually showcases some of Testament's early material at its best. Although I cannot fault those classic studio albums, such as The Legacy or The New Order, of course, those are great tracks, great albums. It's great stuff of the time. But here we get some killer, absolutely cracking live versions, and they sound brilliant. Full of energy, full of power. Chuck's vocals are amazing. Alex is shredding like a machine. Eric Peterson also ripping away like a madman. It's just a great release. If you're not familiar with Testament, or if you're not all that keen on thrash, maybe it's a little bit much, this could very well change your mind. This is a killer live release from the mighty Testament back in 1987. Moving on from there, we're going to stick with thrash. We're going to go Teutonic this time. We're going to go all the way over to the mighty German thrash metal legends, pioneers of their amalgam of black death thrash metal. Certainly those are the things that they went on to inspire, but this was thrash heavier than what a lot of other guys were doing at the time. But most notably, this little EP, the Flag of Hate EP, contains, again, some of my favourite early Creator tracks. Tracks such as Flag of Hate, Take Their Lives, and the mighty Awakening of the Gods. These are absolutely killer tracks. They feature as bonus tracks on this version. It's quite an old version by today's standards, as I know they've been recently reissued by Noise Records, BMG, but in this version they are the bonus tracks on Pleasure to Kill, the great thrash album, certainly one of their biggest albums, if not their biggest or most notorious album anyway. So, mention those tracks there. Flag of Hate, such raw thrash, energetic, full of power, full of energy. It just absolutely shreds, and it's got that almost a bit too aggressive to be thrash, but it is thrash, we know it, but you can see what it went on to inspire in terms of black metal and death metal. Take Their Lives, absolutely killer. And of course, Awakening of the Gods, which is one of my favourite Creator tracks. It's so heavy, it's got great melody in there, great melodic elements, a great chorus. We've got it all. And Flag of Hate, 3 tracks, certainly in this form, it's 3 tracks. Absolutely killer, raw, energetic thrash metal from the birth of it all. This was 1986. This is when the Teutonic scene, anyway, was really taking off, alongside the likes of Destruction, who had been ploughing their way through that scene for a couple of years, alongside Creator, alongside Sodom. This is one of those releases where it is absolutely packed full of energy, full of thrash, and it is without a doubt ahead of its time. So there's our third pick of this particular instalment, Flag of Hate EP by the mighty Creator. So we're going to go a bit more deadly now. We're going to go a bit nastier. We're going over to Scandinavia for this one. Bloodbath, the death metal, old school death metal supergroup featuring some of the great names from the Scandinavian metal scene in this particular form, as there's been a few lineup changes and a few additions over the years. We get that grisly artwork in this awesome little booklet, little poster style piece here. We've got the great Opeth frontman on vocals here. We've got Michael Ackerfed, certainly a very notable musician himself, but a fantastic frontman. If you heard him in Opeth, his band, his progressive rock metal band, he's got an absolutely incredible voice. But on here, on Bloodbath's material, he sounds like a absolute beast. He sounds monstrous, absolutely harrowing. He sounds incredible, as I love the vocal work he performs here. But alongside a character like Dan Swano, this is very high level, top notch musicianship across the board. On this incarnation of the band, we've also got Anders Nordstrom and Jonas Renks. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of his name, I do apologise. But this is 3 tracks of some of Bloodbath's nastiest work. Although here, this is 3 songs with a couple of demo tracks included. They are absolutely grisly pieces. Breeding Death and Ominous Blood Vomit. Such old school Scandi death metal. This is raw, nasty, it's just gritty and visceral. It's nasty stuff. We've got Furnace Funeral as well, which throws in some of that almost menacing, maniacal key and synth work in the background, just to add a flourish of disturbing ambience there. But 3 tracks it may be, with a couple of demos. This is absolutely raw, putrid, old school death metal. Not one to be missed if you like Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel or Entombed. Go for the proper Scandinavian old school death metal stuff, or Carcass even. This stuff is raw, this is nasty, this is old school death metal. Absolutely love this. Some of my favourite Bloodbath material again. Just goes to show, these EPs do contain some of the best material. So I'm going to throw a complete curveball now. I've just started to open up a little bit more about my appreciation of metalcore music or deathcore music. I can't really mention deathcore or metalcore without mentioning this particular EP. This was 2005. This is the first release from what they have now gone on to become giants of sort of pop rock, pop metal. I don't even know what the hell they are anymore. To be honest, I haven't been following these guys since Sempiternal. After that album, which I thought was a fantastic album, when they just sort of turned into a radio pop electronic band, I just retreated to the safety of metal. I'm not going to follow them over there, but I will say that I still love their heavy material, their heavy releases. So this is entitled This Is What the Edge of Your Seat Was Made For EP. A bit of a mouthful, but you've got 4 tracks of what is essentially embryonic deathcore, metalcore. It's very technical, it's very aggressive, but you've got some absolutely killer, chunky, thick riffing here. You've got some monstrous breakdowns. You've got Ollie Sykes doing some really genuinely impressive guttural growls and just bestial noises. He does a great job. In fact, the full band perform on a absolutely top-notch level. They are, for all intents and purposes, deathcore greats, because this release and their debut album, Count Your Blessings, are still highly regarded by a lot of deathcore and metalcore fans as being some of the best material of that subgenre. Although they didn't quite have the look of the death metal crew, no, they didn't, but that's not really what they were going for. Not really what they were trying to be. They were trying to be something different. So, this is what the Edge of Your Seat Was Made For EP. We've got 4 tracks here that showcase some of their nastiest. In fact, I will go as far as to say this is their nastiest and most aggressive material. This is as harsh and as brutal as they got. They continued for a few albums of being metalcore, being aggressive, but this, take a track like RE, They Have No Reflections, or Who Wants Flowers When You're Dead? Nobody. Track number 3, Raw. And the closing track, Traitors Never Play Hangman. Titles are not very good, no. But they're very much of the time. But all of these tracks, all 4 in fact, are heavy, they are aggressive, they are brutal, they are deathcore, metalcore, whatever you want to call it. Killer breakdowns, nasty vocals, killer drumming, plenty of sludgy, thick riff work. Good stuff. In my opinion, if you just heard or maybe were put off by the fact that Bring Me the Horizon released these huge pop albums and these sort of pop metalcore albums later on, if you've just been put off completely and you've never actually checked out their early material, give it a chance. You'll be pleasantly surprised, I have no doubt. And this EP is a good one. No doubt whatsoever. This is what The Edge of Your Seat was made for, EP. Keeping with the theme of something that's a little bit different, maybe that people would be, or some metalheads anyway, would be a bit embarrassed to say that they're a fan of these guys because they've reached such huge heights. I'm going to go right out there and say that the self-titled Bullet for My Valentine EP is a raw, nasty piece of work, and it is an absolutely killer debut. It's a killer EP. It's got some cracking material here. And it's showing just where they were going to go with the debut album, The Poison, which saw them absolutely rocket into modern metal hierarchy, in taking the torch and really freaking running with it. Let's face it, it wasn't long before they were hitting Wembley and high up slots in the festival lineups. But we've got some killer tracks here. Hand of Blood. Such an angsty, aggressive track, plenty of aggression in there, killer riff work. Matt is a great vocalist. We've got Padge, who's a phenomenal guitarist. Moose, absolutely smashing away on the kit there. And then we've also got Jay, just thundering away in the background on bass. But this is a killer release, absolutely. Cries in Vain, which made it onto The Poison, is a fantastic track. Again, aggressive. Guitar work is phenomenal, vocals are brilliant. We've got Curses, No Control, Just Another Star, can't quite remember off the top of my head, but even those first 4 tracks, even if I can't quite remember that 5th track, they are absolutely worth hearing. Heavy, it's more of a heavy metal, thrash metal injection. It's just heavy, aggressive stuff. Not overly heavy. This isn't death metal. This isn't metalcore or deathcore. No. Killer musicianship, heavy metal, thrash elements, but in an aggressive, very emotional, modern style. This, in my opinion, is modern heavy metal. It's done really bloody well. So, Bullet for My Valentine, first debut self-titled EP. And you can say what you like about Bring Me the Horizon or Bullet for My Valentine, but they've certainly done something right over the years, as they're the ones that headline in Wembley, not me. So just to give you a recap, EPs, some of my favourite EPs that you should definitely check out. Queensryche 1983 debut EP. Creator, thrash metal legends, with the Flag of Hate EP from 1986, I believe. Absolutely killer, raw, thrashing stuff, so much energy. The Mighty Testament with Live at Eindhoven, absolutely killer stuff, raw, energetic thrash, not to be missed. Scandinavian old school death metal from the old school death metal supergroup Bloodbath with Breeding Death. This is a nasty, nasty piece of work. Certainly for the old school death metal fans and fans of really nasty, gritty, raw metal. Bring Me the Horizon in their death metal glory days with This Is What the Edge of Your Seat was made for. This is raw, this is rough, this is ready stuff. not to be missed if you like a bit of a curveball and if you like some absolutely killer deathcore, which I do. Last but not least, Bloodbath, My Valentine, self-titled EP. Very, very embryonic in their career. It sounds raw, it sounds energetic, modern heavy metal with plenty of emotion, with plenty of raw energy. So, there you have it. Some of my favourite EPs. What do you guys think of these EPs? I'm very interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and of course, do let me know what you think. I'm very interested to hear. You take care, my friends. Stay heavy.